Good morning. We're just going to give folks a moment to clear the waiting room and connect to audio to make sure that everybody can hear us. Thank you. As a reminder, when you are entering from the waiting room, please do remain on mute unless or until you are appearing or testifying before. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman of the Board, Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Licensing Board, and today I'm joined by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon.
Thank you. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly. I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda, with one exception. Item number 8 will be called out of order directly after item number 1. I will ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. All testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. Begin with the first item on this morning's agenda, calling item number 1, the Wild Rovers Incorporated, doing business as the Wild Rover, located at 63 Chatham Street. Date of the incident, April 29th, 2023. Patron on patron, assault and battery, a 911 call, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
William Johnson.
Good morning, Attorney Green. Good morning, board members. Andrew Upton for the licensee. With me is Bill Johnson and Nico Baldessari, the security manager.
Thank you very much. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective James Walsh.
Thank you, Detective Walsh. Are there any? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Officer Joe Petruziello.
Thank you, officer. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. Who will be reading the police report into the record?
I will, Officer Petruziello.
Great. Thank you. You may please proceed.
About 11:53 p.m. on Saturday, April 29, 2023, Officer Petruziello and the Alpha 437 responded to a radio call for an assault and battery report at 63 Chatham Street, Wild Rover, Boston. Upon arrival, the officer spoke to the victim, Jetro Alves Pergentino, who stated he was assaulted inside the Wild Rover. The victim stated that an unknown male and unknown female got into a verbal altercation with him and his friends. The victim stated that the male then headbutted him in the face. The victim stated that the male was threatening him and eventually left the area. The victim described the male suspect as a white male in his 30s, approximately 5'11", with blonde short hair and a light-colored button-down shirt. The victim denied any medical attention. Body-worn cameras were activated throughout the incident.
Thank you. Attorney Upton, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, if I may ask the officer. Officer, was the staff and management cooperative when you arrived on the scene?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have for the officer. I would like to ask Nico Baldessari a few questions just to describe the incident. Nico, what's your current role at the Wild Rover? Nico, can you hear us?
We cannot hear you.
Sorry, can you hear
There
me?
we go. We can hear you now.
Sorry about that. Yes, I'm the security manager.
How long have you worked there?
Roughly 6 years.
Were you working on the night of the incident?
Yes.
Did any of the parties involved in the incident show any signs of intoxication or aggressiveness before the incident?
None that we saw.
All right, in your own words, what happened there?
So there was a group of 3 males and a couple, male and female. It turned out physical. The first security guard was there in like 5 to 10 seconds to break it up. I then got there around 15 to 20 seconds after they got physical.
All right,
And-
then what'd you do?
Then we brought them outside and I called 911. I brought out the 3 males outside and called 911 and just waited for the police.
All right, did you bring both groups outside together or did you keep them separate?
No, we kept the couple inside and then the males outside,
Why do you do that?
just to avoid a street fight.
Makes sense. You called the police?
Yes, I did.
Okay, by the time you took the first group outside and tried to de-escalate the inside group, how many security personnel were on scene?
Roughly 7,
And how many were working that night?
around 9 to 10.
Okay. Did you offer medical assistance to the parties involved?
After I called 911, I asked him if he wanted an ambulance as well, and he said no.
Okay, did anyone require any medical assistance?
No, there was no like physical like marks on him, like blood or anything, nothing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
To the board, as will be corroborated in the video, it appears that the person described as the victim in the police report was involved in getting physical with the female on the couple. But it's not totally clear how this started. What is clear is it happened suddenly and the response was immediate, as were the actions of the security staff. This establishment did exactly what we think the board expects from a licensee, especially when a conflict begins so quickly and is not foreseeable. With that, we're glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'll turn to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairwoman Joyce, any questions?
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, attorney. Thanks for joining us today, sir. I don't have any questions at this time.
Commissioner?
None for me. Thank you.
Commissioner
None for
Saxon?
me, thank you.
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. We will next be calling item number 8 out of order to accommodate a scheduling conflict. Calling item number 8, Los Arrieros Restaurant, Inc., doing business as Los Arrieros Restaurant located at 13 to 15 Meridian Street in East Boston. Date of the incident, October 2nd, 2023, a bottle service violation in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning again, Andrew Upton for the licensee. With me is Antonio Ospina, owner and manager of record, along with his son, who will translate for him.
Thank you very much. Who's present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective William Gallagher.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Detective Hernandez, if needed.
Thank you very much. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You do.
Thank you very much. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Yes, good morning. On 10/2/2023 at 9:51 p.m. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the licensed premise unit, were dropping off a hearing notice at Los Arrieros at 13 Meridian Street. As detectives entered the premise, they observed a server walk from the bar area with a full carafe of what was later determined to be aguardiente liquor. Sergeant Detective Gallagher observed this female go to 2 different tables and fill a 16-ounce solid plastic cup with the liquor that was on each table. On one tables was occupied by 2 males, the other had 4. Each patron was observed to have a shot glass in front of them. Sergeant Detective Gallagher then observed the patrons filling their own glasses with liquor. Detectives know this practice to be called bottle service. Los Arios is not currently allowed to conduct bottle service. Detectives sought out the manager, Antonio Espina, and informed him that he was not allowed to leave unattended liquor on the table in the amounts that was observed. Mass law prohibits practices only of 2 drinks per person at a time. The 16-ounce cup of Aguardiente is more than mass law allows. The premise also does not have bottle service on a condition on its liquor license. Mr. Ospina had the glasses removed from the table. As a result, observed Sergeant Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice number 040577 for Los Arios for bottle service violation. Mr. Ospina signed for and accepted the notice. Those are the facts of that evening.
Thank you very much. Attorney Upton, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Thank you, Attorney Green. Detective, was Mr. Ospina and the management cooperative during
Yes,
this?
sir, they- Very.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to ask Mr. Ospina a few questions about the night of the incident.
Van a hacer unas preguntas de la noche del incidente. Ok.
Mr. Ospina, do you advertise bottle service?
Que si usted hace propaganda para servicio de botella. No.
Do you have bottle service on the menu?
Que si usted tiene en el menú servicio de botella. No.
Do customers ever ask for bottle service?
Los clientes le piden servicio de botella. No.
Can I say that again? Do customers ever ask you for bottle service?
No.
Okay. Do you ever serve a full bottle to a customer?
¿Le ha vendido alguna botella entera a un cliente? No.
How many drinks do you serve per person at the
¿Cuántos
most?
tragos por persona máximo? 2. En inglés. ¿Cómo se dice en inglés 2?
I believe you're saying 2.
Yeah.
When you serve the aguardiente on the night in question, how much was in the red cup?
¿Cuánto aguardiente había en el vaso? Muy bien. 4. 4 drinks worth.
So you try to make it 2 shots per person?
Que si trató de hacerlo 2 tragos por persona, que por esos 4. Sí. Yes.
Do you ever fill that red cup to the very top?
Que si alguna vez ha llenado ese vaso completamente. No. No.
Why do you serve the drinks? Why did you serve the drinks this way?
¿Por qué sirvió los tragos de esa manera? Habían 2 personas, entonces le sirvieron para los 2, 4 tragos. Because there was 2 people and that's the maximum they could have, so they gave them the what by legally they could have the two drinks per person.
Okay, do you understand you can't serve liquor out of carafes or cups? It has to come from the original bottle?
Que se entiende que no puede vender trago de botellas o de carafes que no sean de la botella original. Que si usted entiende eso. Sí. Yes.
Have you explained this to the bartending staff?
Que si le ha mencionado esto y le ha dicho esto a las meseras y a los bartenders. Sí. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Green, this establishment has a beer, wine, and cordials license. Aguardiente is a cordial that is typically lower proof than a distilled spirit like whiskey or vodka. Aguardiente is known as the national drink of Colombia. The licensee never offered bottle service. By placing the liqueur in a container on the table, they were duplicating the customs that they have in their home country of Colombia, but there was never an effort to serve a whole bottle or more than 2 drinks per person at one time. Licensee is aware that alcohol should come from the manufacturer's bottle and now does not transfer any cordials into anything but glasses directly from the bottle. Because of the traditions and customs involved with this drink, licensee has gotten some pushback from customers in implying this new procedure. Therefore, they've posted signs in Spanish and English explaining to customers and staff that any form of service of alcohol that involves more than 2 drinks per person or any service from anything but the original bottle is not allowed under any circumstances. A copy of a photo of those posted signs has been sent to the board. With that, we're glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Attorney Upton. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
How many staff do you have working on a night like this?
You're talking
Antonio,
directly to us. Oh, I'm sorry.
yes, how many people were working there that night?
All included security and serving staff.
How many wait staff were working?
¿Cuántos meseros? 4.
Do they understand the rules?
Que si entienden su papel ahí. Que si entienden su papel ahí. Yes. Sí.
Okay, you were before this board in 2019 for the exact same thing. Do you recall that?
Que si usted estuvo aquí de vuelta en el 2019 por la misma razón. ¿Que se acuerda de eso? No. No.
It was the exact same thing. Why are you not applying for bottle service?
Que por qué no está haciendo una aplicación para servicio de botella. No. Haven't considered it.
Okay, well, it's not a solution to this problem because you still can't have guests pouring themselves, but you're talking about a cultural communication issue between your patrons and the laws, so you have to really think about it. So if you're back here again, it's not going to be a warning. This is a very serious offense. You can't have your patrons pouring in cultural differences, and the culture of your patrons not being happy with how you're doing things is not a defense.
Absolutely. That being said, he just tells me he's not aware that this was an option for him. So
Well,
that
this
now
is not an option for you to have your patrons pour their own liquor, but you can apply for bottle service.
yeah,
You
that's why.
have to have wait staff. You have to have
Okay.
wait staff for it.
Okay.
Madam Chair, to be clear, you're 100% correct. And we just give the sort of cultural background for context, but we have had several discussions with the owner and management about how this needs to be done and why they cannot have bottle service. And it is completely clear now to owner and staff that how it has to be done and that it is not appropriate to serve more than 2 drinks or to serve not out of the original bottle. I believe the intent was to serve only 2 drinks per person. However, the original bottle issue and all that caused a little bit of confusion. So that is why we have drafted the signs with a 5-point plan and are posted at 2 places at the bar in English and in Spanish, saying exactly what's allowed, exactly what the staff can do. And it is in Spanish, just in case anyone gives any pushback from the customer side, so they can explain clearly, this is why we are not doing this anymore.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
If a patron comes in and orders 1 aguardiente, how many ounces is the pour?
Si un cliente pide un trago, ¿cuánto es el trago? En shot. 1.25. An ounce and a quarter.
An ounce and a quarter. Not 4 ounces, right?
No.
Okay. And do you have multiple aguardientes on your menu or just 1?
Que si tienen múltiples aguardientes o solamente un tipo. Un tipo. 1.
And what is the proof of that, the one that you carry?
¿Cuál es la cantidad de alcohol en esa botella? 37. I think it's a 70 proof, so 35% alcohol.
35%. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner, according to my research, just as background, Colombia has 31 different states. Each state has their own aguardiente. And
Yep.
in states that you are not from, it is often illegal to get the other kind. So that's why they only have 1 kind. This is called Antioquia. And according to the internet, it is 24 to 29% alcohol.
Okay, can you so you don't think his answer is correct? Is that what you're saying?
Well, he said 33 and it's 29. I mean, I think we're pretty close.
Okay, thank you.
No additional questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from the board? Board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And thank you for your consideration on the agenda.
Thank you very much. And we're moving back to item number 2 on the agenda. Calling Page Hospitality, Inc., doing business as Hava Lounge located at 246 Tremont Street. Date of the incident, May 11th, 2023. Failure to notify police in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.14b. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Mark Evliadis, counsel for Page Hospitality, Hava Lounge at 246 Tremont Street. With me today, I have Miller Thomas, who is the manager of record, and Kevin Montgomery, who is the manager of security.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective James Walsh.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Thank you. Mr. Montgomery, is it possible to turn your camera on so we can swear you in?
Well, let's say start video.
Hang on, I've just asked you to start video. Something should have just popped up on your screen.
I just hit it again. Try it again.
Mm-hmm.
Start my video. It's still not popping in.
Okay, can you affirm to the board that you will raise your right hand when asked to do so?
Yes,
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. And Detective Walsh, you may please proceed with reading the police report into the record.
May I interrupt, Executive Secretary Green? I didn't hear an affirmation from the manager of record, Miller Thomas, and I just want to make sure that he's on this.
Thank you. I do believe I see. Yep, there we are. Mr. Thomas, are you with us?
Yes.
Thank you. Can you please raise your right hand again? And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, sir.
Thank you very much for that. Detective Walsh, you may please proceed.
About 1 p.m. on Saturday, May 20th, 2023, Officer Hayes, assigned to the front desk at District 15, took a walk-in report of an investigated person that occurred at 246 Tremont Street in Boston. Mrs. Melissa Rinsler and Mrs. Madeline Ford walked in at District 15 to report a contaminated drink incident that occurred at the Harbor nightclub at 246 Tremont Street on May 11th, 2023. Miss Rinsler stated that she was dancing with a male when they went to the bar together and he bought her a drink. Miss Rinsler stated shortly after consuming the drink, she started to feel sick and had to sit down. Miss Rinsler stated that after she sat down, another friend started to dance with the same male and also received a drink from him. Mrs. Ford, who was also at the nightclub that night, witnessed both Melissa and their other friends start to act strange after consuming the drink that was bought for them. Mrs. Rinsler stated that the male was about 5'7", weighing about 180 pounds. It was wearing a black V-neck sleeve shirt. Mrs. Rinsler stated that the male had a strong European accent and stated he was from Germany and that his name was Michael. Mrs. Rinsler stated that she started to feel that she was unable to move her body and had to be carried by friends to another seating area. Mrs. Ford stated that she and other friends became concerned for Mrs. Rinsler and believed that she had been drugged. Mrs. Ford voiced her concerns about Miss Rinsler to the bouncers, and another friend was attempting to call 911 when the bouncer grabbed the cell phone out of her hands and prevented her from calling 911. Mrs. Ford stated that once she mentioned that she believed her friend was drugged, the staff called an ambulance and stated that once she mentioned she believed her friend was drugged, Miss Rinsler had drank too much. Mrs. Rinsler stated that she remembers being on a couch-type seat and not able to move her muscles. Rinsler stated that the staff pulled her by the arms and her head fell back in pain. Mrs. Rinsler was then transported to Tufts Medical Center where they did a test for ethanol and benzodiazepine, which yielded negative results. Ms. Rinsler purchased her own drug test and tested positive for buprenorphine. Ms. Rinsler stated that she went to the doctors and x-rays showed that she had a cervical spine sprain and she believes is caused from the staff pulling her off the couch.
Thank you very much. I believe we have one supplemental, which is just the citing of the license premise violation. Thank you. Attorney Evliades, would you like to address the alleged incident?
If I may just question Detective Walsh for a second.
Mhm.
Detective Walsh, did you take this report?
I did not.
And you have no personal or firsthand knowledge of any of the incidents that actually happened on the date of May the 11th, correct?
No.
Thank
I
you.
have I have knowledge of speaking with the victim and conducting a code 35 licensed premise inspection at the nightclub. As far as that, the investigation is all I have to do with it.
Okay, and when you did do the inspection of the nightclub, was the staff and management cooperative with you?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions. On this incident night of May 11th, 2023, it was a Thursday evening. The premises opened up at approximately 10:30 in the evening. The incident happened at approximately 11 o'clock in the evening. Miller Thomas, who is the manager of record, will testify to the fact that there were only 25 patrons in the premises at the time. And the capacity of the premises is 328. On the night in question, the security was staffed at approximately 6 to 8 security personnel. Immediately when they were notified of someone not feeling well, they called 911, and within 15 minutes, an ambulance showed up. I'd like to ask Mr. Miller Thomas some questions at this time. Miller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
You were working on the night in question?
That's correct.
And could you state your full name for the record?
My first name is Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R. My last name's Thomas, T-H-O-M-A-S.
How long have you worked at the premises?
12 years, sir.
And you were working that night, correct?
That's correct. I was stationed at the front of the premises at the entranceway with the door guy.
And at some point, were you notified of an incident that happened within the premises?
Yes.
And at that time, approximately how many patrons were in the premises?
Between 20 and 15. Most people were coming in and leaving. We only had the back room of the place open. It was just a very slow night. People were coming in and leaving right away. As soon as they found out the back room was the only room that was open, they would leave. So it was quite slow in terms of business at that night.
Okay, and at some point, were you notified that a patron was not feeling well?
That's correct.
And what did you do?
I left the upstairs, went downstairs, talked to the security, Kevin Montgomery and other security staff. They were told me that the patron, the female, there was a group of 6 females who one of them felt that she had been drugged, said she's feeling drowsy, very lethargic. So he said, let's call an ambulance. I had spoken to members of the police department earlier during the course of the summer about this whole thing with clubs in the city, patrons complaining about being roofied. And we had discussed the fact that Tufts, which is a hospital like right around the corner from us, was the hospital that was leading the way in doing testing. So I called an ambulance, made sure they got there, told the ambulance people basically the story behind that this woman said that thought she'd been drugged, and so that they would know that some type of testing should be part of the protocol.
And the person you spoke with as far as the Boston Police Department, was that Sergeant Detective Gallagher?
I remember having a conversation with the sergeant at some point. It wasn't like, it was sort of an informal thing that he came by one night and basically give me an FYI, saying that this was something that was going on and that it had been in the news all over the place as clubs were getting on a list of somebody on the internet saying that this club was roofing people, this club was roofing. So it was one of those things that basically cover yourself in terms of if you get any of these incidents or somebody complains about that, to make sure they got medical treatment right away.
And on the night in question, it's fair to say you had 6 to 8 security staff working?
Yes, like I said, it was a very, very slow night, and we anticipated it being slow, but not as slow as it was. We moved everything to a room that capacity is 120, 25 people. We barely got 25 at one point. In fact, we closed early that night because we weren't making many money to justify our staying open.
What time did you close?
Around 12:30. I'm not exactly sure what time. I know it was around that time.
After you called 911 for the ambulance, how long did it take for the ambulance to arrive?
They were there within probably 5 minutes or so. It wasn't long.
And it was the EMTs that, because this establishment is got a staircase going down into it, it was the EMTs that actually moved the woman from where she was sitting in a chair, from what I understand, up the stairs and into the ambulance, correct?
Yeah, they took her by what I think is called a stair chair, which is like an ambulance and which is like a stretcher that's a chair, and they secure the person in that chair, take them up the stairs, and then take them to a stretcher outside. But they didn't come down with a stretcher, although we have an elevator in the building that wasn't used that night.
I have no further questions for Mr. Thomas. If the board has any questions.
Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions for Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, do you have any comments or responses to what's written in the police report about your staff not calling for her or pulling her and causing injury?
To the best of my knowledge, none of that happened. It's pretty clear that we did call an ambulance for her, and I can't think of any reason why we would that any of our staff would deny her an ambulance. I mean, it's just
after you
it doesn't.
After you received this police report, did you interview your staff or talk to them?
I talked to them that night also. I mean, we had conversations with everybody that night relative to these allegations. That I talked to the bartenders, and in terms of any suspicious activity, because it was only, like I said, there was less than 25 people there. We had two bartenders, very small room. Everybody's right. I mean, like the proximity to everybody in that room was really close. There was no like hidden corners or anything else. It was a very small space.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Carter, Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
When 911 was called, why did you not request that police come at the same time?
I just assumed that police would be there at the same time. I just made that assumption, and nobody from the police department did show up. I didn't make a separate call for the police department. I assumed that once I make a call of that nature for a licensed premise, identifying it as a licensed premise, that police would have come. I didn't make the second call.
Okay, just as a comment and for the future, because of what we've been seeing and the advisors we've had regarding spiked drinks, I just want to let you know, I don't know where we're going to go with this one today, but for the future, you need to request that the police come along with ambulance, because we need these things investigated as closely to the time that it happens as possible. They're very, very difficult cases to deal with, and we need to tighten up the situation with having the police coming and taking a look at it. So for the future, we need, I know you call 911 and you request an ambulance, but at the same time, you need to say we need the police here as well. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any cameras, like maybe above the bar or anywhere where we could see the person getting served?
There were cameras, but we did not preserve this particular incident at that time, because when we finally notified that there was an investigation, our cameras have been overwritten.
Yeah, I would say like any incident like that, just automatically preserve your footage, because just for the safety of your customers, you want to be able to know what happened.
Okay.
Detective Walsh, were you raising your hand earlier to say something?
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna say is I did check the computer aided dispatch for any calls to 911 that particular time and date, and I didn't locate any. I think it was stated by the victim that it seemed to be a private ambulance company, so I didn't know if there was some disconnect. The police 911 was not called to that address that night. I don't know if a private ambulance responded, which would maybe make sense why the police weren't there, because a 911 call definitely was not placed, and I double checked that.
If I may, Mr. Thomas,
Yeah, please explain.
yeah, Mr. Thomas, on that evening, did you call a private ambulance or did you call 911?
911. It was definitely EMS that came there. They were not a private.
Did you use your personal cell phone or did you use the property's phone?
No, I used my cell. And my cell is a 508 number. And I definitely connected.
Detective Walsh, could the fact that he used a cell phone have confused it, because doesn't it go through state first and then gets redirected?
It could have happened like that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Avliadis, did you have any questions for your other witness for Mr. Montgomery, or was that all?
Yes, no, I'd like to actually call Mr. Montgomery. Kevin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you state your full name?
Kevin Montgomery,
And what's your position at Page Hospitality?
security manager at Page.
And how long have you been there?
Approximately 15 years.
And were you working on May 11th of 2023?
Yes.
And at some point, did you come across a group of girls that were at the premises that had?
Yes.
Okay, could you describe what happened when you came across that?
But when I came across them, her girlfriends were assisting her because she couldn't walk by herself, so they were assisting. So I guided them along with some other security over to the couch because
Okay.
the main room was
Let's
open.
slow it down. So they were standing, they weren't sitting at that point in time?
No, they were standing.
You were taking them from the back room to the front room to sit her down in a couch, correct?
Yes.
How far is that distance?
20, 25 feet, maybe.
Okay. And at any point in time, did any of the security officers deny her access to her phone or touch her phone?
No.
Okay. And when she sat down on the couch, how far or how long after that were the EMTs present?
I would say within 10 minutes.
Okay. And who removed her from the couch?
They did.
And they took her up the stairs in the chair that Mr. Miller described?
Yes.
And was it your understanding as security manager that 911 was called to bring this the EMTs there?
Yes.
I have no further questions for Mr. Montgomery.
Thank you, Attorney Avliadis. Turn it back to the board to see if there are any remaining questions. Chairman Joyce, any further questions?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Kern or Commissioner Saxon? Okay, the board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Calling item number 3, Boston Ballroom Corporation doing business as Royale, located at 279 Tremont Street, stated the incident May 28th, 2023. Employee on employee assault and battery in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Oh, hang on, I'm going to ask you to unmute because I can see you speaking, but we cannot hear you.
Charles Delpidio and George Kalivas.
Thank you both for being with us. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective James Walsh.
Thank you, Detective Walsh. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of this alleged incident who wish to testify? Can you all please raise your right hand? Mr. Delpidio, Mr. Kalivas. Yep, Mr. Delpidio, if I could just say thank you very much. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
We do? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Detective Walsh. If you can please proceed with the police report.
Thank you, sir. On May 28th, 2023,
23, Officer Alpha 437 Alpha responded to Tufts Medical Hospital for an assault report. Upon arrival, Officer Merrick spoke to a Mr. Dilson Brazario, who stated that while he was at the Royale nightclub filming the crowd as part of the promotion crew for the club, an unknown male pushed him. When the victim asked the unknown male not to push him, the suspect punched the victim in the mouth, knocking him to the ground. Management of the club was notified of the incident. The suspect was caught on video punching the victim in the mouth. Victim walked to the hospital on his own with non-life-threatening injuries.
This is you.
On Sunday, June 11th, 2023, Boston Police A1 detectives responded to Royale nightclub to issue a licensed premise violation for an incident that occurred on May 28th. Detectives met with manager George Kalivas and director of security Terrence Gathers, who stated that they were aware of the situation that occurred. They stated a Royale employee, Matthias Massonet, nicknamed Mr. Black, was assisting removing a contracted promotional crew of the club, victim Dilson Brazario. It was determined that Mr. Brazario was in an unauthorized area within the DJ booth with alcoholic beverages. Staff was trying to remove the victim when employee Matthias Massonet got in the face of the victim and allegedly assaulted him. The original incident stated there was video of the incident. However, detectives were informed by manager Kalivas and director Gathers that there was no video of the incident. They also stated that the incident occurred in the DJ booth of Candy Bar and not Royale. Licensed premise inspection notice 8783 issued for employee on employee assault and battery. This investigation is ongoing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Del Pidio. Mr. Kalivas, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, I would. Thank you. In the 35 or 40 years that I've been here, I cannot recall ever an employee on employee. It's totally an unfortunate thing, and it will not be tolerated whatsoever. Since this happened, we've had staff meetings on this, and everybody has been told that if you ever put a hand on another employee, you will be fired on the spot. Now, what exactly happened that night is this. Mr. Matthias was working in the DJ booths. There was an unauthorized person in the DJ booth. He asked that person to leave. That person would not leave. Now, Mr. Black is not Mr. Matthias. He came in the booth because he works here, and they got in an altercation face to face. And the best thing about this whole thing is that they're very good friends. And one thing led to another, and he did get hit. Then he came into the kitchen, and I said, "Do you want an ambulance?" He said, "No, I'm going to go right over to the hospital because the hospital's right across the street." So he walked over to the hospital. That's when 911, the police department was called, and they came, and that's really about it. Since then, the two were suspended, and now they're best friends again, and it's just a total unfortunate situation. And I will not ever allow this to go on in my club. Never.
Thank you, Mr. Del Pidio. Mr. Kalivas, anything you would like to add for the board?
No, I have nothing more to add. Thank you.
See if there are any questions from the board. Chairwoman Joyce, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Karn?
Just to confirm, did this come out of nowhere? Was it anything leading up to this? Were they having...
No. It was a spontaneous thing that, one person got upset. Thought, "You're in my space. Come on, leave." And it just happened so fast. But again, these are two guys that are two good friends, and they're both good friends again.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Saxon?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you
calling
so
item
much.
number 4, which concerns the same licensee, Boston Ballroom Corporation, doing business as Royale. located at 279 Tremont Street. Date of this incident, June 11th, 2023. Overdose on premise ×2 in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.13. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
George Kalivas and Chuck Delpedio.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Leah Baggis.
Officer Edward Lucas.
Thank you to both of you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
No, just me.
Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Who will be reading the police report into the record?
Officer Lucas.
Officer Lucas, you may please proceed.
About 1:50 a.m. on Sunday, June 11th, 2023, officers Lucas and Petruzziello in the Alpha 102 responded to a radio call for an overdose at Royale Nightclub, 279 Tremont Street in Boston. Upon arrival, officers were brought to the kitchen area where victim number 1, Bijang Louis, was found sitting in a wheelchair. Louis was said to have eaten edible THC and drank an unknown amount of alcoholic beverages. Louis was barely able to speak and was transported by Boston EMS to Tufts Medical Center. While standing by with Louis, officers were made aware of a second individual suffering from what appeared to be the drug and or alcohol-related illness. Victim number 2, Srujana Panem, was brought from the main club floor to the rear kitchen area with similar symptoms that Louis was suffering from. Panem was more lethargic and unable to answer questions. Panem was transported by Boston EMS to Tufts Medical Center for evaluation. Officers notified Sergeant Baggis, who responded to complete a licensed premise inspection.
Thank you very much. Once again, Mr. Kalivas, Mr. Delpedio, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yeah, how you doing? I was made aware of the first individual by security, and immediately I went to the kitchen, assessed the situation, asked them what they took, or if they took anything, and they admitted it. And I called 911 immediately for an ambulance. And then when the ambulance and the police showed up, again, the second victim, I don't know if they were together or if they were, I think they knew each other, so they might have done the same thing. I don't know, but my whole thing is the safety and security of the patrons. So I have no problem picking up the phone and banging out 911.
Thank you. Anything further from the licensee? Okay, let's see if there are any questions, Chairman Joyce.
So what do you think happened here? What was going on this night, like that 2 people overdosed?
Well, if they did some form of marijuana, THC. They could have taken a gummy, which I think that's what they did before they came in. I mean, how do you stop that?
Do you know how long these 2 victims were in the club?
Not that long. I can't tell what time they arrived. I can only tell you what time I called 911.
All right, thanks. I have no other questions.
Commissioner Curran.
None for me, thank you.
Commissioner Saxon.
Is there any camera footage that shows them coming in so you can see what time they came in and what state they were in?
There could have been footage, but I wouldn't even know where to start with that. I mean, I never seen them before.
Anything further from the board? Board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 5, Ipswich Entertainment, Inc., doing business as Loretta's Last Call, located at 1 Lansdowne Street, date of the incident May 12th, 2023. Assault and battery, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With me this morning, Ariana Capuano, Assistant General Manager, who was on duty on the night in question, and Miles Kopka was in management as well and dealt with BPD after the incident, as well as Katina Corapines, who is the risk manager for the Lions Group. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you, and I do see all three. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Officer Noonan.
Thank you, Officer Noonan. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
I do.
Thank you, Officer Noonan. If you could please read the police report into the record for us.
About 12:27 a.m. on Saturday, May 13th, 2023, Officer Noonan, while assigned to the Delta 499, responded to a radio call for assault and battery report at Beth Israel Medical Center. Upon arrival, officer spoke with the witness, Allison Spillman, who states that her friend was assaulted inside of her Loretta's last call at 1 Lansdowne Street, Boston. The victim, McGrath Basalin, was in agonizing pain and was unable to give a full statement in regards to the assault that occurred. The witness states that she saw the entire altercation and was able to speak on the victim's behalf. The witness states at approximately 10:30 p.m. on Friday, May 12th, 2023, the victim was exiting the bathroom when he was elbowed in the head by an unknown suspect. The witness states that 3 to 4 unknown males also were involved and grabbed the victim, throwing him to the ground where the victim hit his head. Staff inside intervened and escorted all parties out of the building. The witness and victim, to avoid any further incident, left and headed towards Mass Ave, where they located Berkeley Police. They informed Berkeley Police of the incident and wanted to file a report. The officers asked if they wanted EMS and declined. They decided to take an Uber to Beth Israel. They decided to take the Uber to Beth Israel Medical Center. The victim, while inside the Uber, began vomiting and could no longer remain in the vehicle, and they walked the remainder of the way to the hospital. The victim was admitted and waiting for further medical attention. Sergeant Medina, the Delta 907, conducted a code 35 at Loretta's last call, citation number 022461.
And may I inquire, that there's a supplemental report, is there not?
There is indeed. Officer Noonan, will you be reading that as well?
I don't have that.
Sorry, Sergeant Medina here. I have the supplemental report for the code 35.
Thank you, Sergeant Medina. If I could just swear you in really quickly, could you please raise your right hand? And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may please proceed.
So about 1 a.m. on Saturday, 5/13/23, Sergeant Medina performed the license premise check of Loretta's last call, 1 Lansdowne Street. I was informed by Officer Nini of the incident, but other assistant officers on scene were the Delta 105. License premise check was for a 911 call earlier in the evening for an assault and battery report. Sergeant Medina spoke with the manager, Miss Capuno, who assists Sergeant Medina in reviewing all relevant licenses for Loretta's, which were conspicuously posted. Miss Capuno was cooperative with officers.
Thank you very much. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yeah, if I may, if I could just ask Officer Noonan quickly a couple of questions. Officer, thank you for being here this morning. The incident, so you responded to the Beth Deaconess?
Correct.
Okay, so this is obviously after whatever occurred had already happened?
Correct.
You spoke to this woman, Allison, who was his friend?
Correct.
Okay. And that, so you have no personal knowledge other than what she told you?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And then you did not go back to the establishment to inquire of them?
I did not.
Okay, all right, but you're aware that other officers did?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, officer, appreciate it. And Sergeant, is it Sergeant Medina?
Yes, sir.
Your report indicates, as well as the premise notice, the violation incident notice, that the management was cooperative, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do either of the officers have any knowledge? Mr. Kopka, who's with us this morning, will testify that he spoke to detectives subsequent to this incident and provided information to them. Do either of you gentlemen have any information on that?
Well,
I do not.
I do not.
Okay.
I have some information about that if you need, Mr. Quilty.
Oh, thank you, Lieutenant Detective. Would you go ahead? I'm informed again that Mr. Kopka spoke to detectives subsequently and gave them certain information?
Not sworn, Mr. Green, if you could.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Lieutenant Troy, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Squilty, it appears that the premise was very cooperative. There was video and credit card information received from the premises and video received from neighboring premises that's pending the identification of the suspect.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant. Sorry about a dry cough here this morning. Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate it. Madam Chair, if I may call Ms. Capuano and Mr. Kopka quickly, but I would like to, first of all, say to the board that there was a major mistake made by staff on the night in question. They did not notify their own management team, this one individual security person who escorted these parties out, did not report any such incident to his own management. Ms. Capuano, who's the manager in charge that night, had no idea what had happened until much later in the night. We will have to apologize for the failure to call the police immediately, but she simply did not know what had occurred. And there's nothing else we can say about that. There was a major staff training at Loretta's at this facility about 3 weeks later, wherein they went over all of the responsibilities of security and other staff in the premises. But there was an absolute error made by security staff in not notifying their own team in order to enable a 911 to be called at that moment. So if I may just ask Ms. Capuano, you've been sworn, just state your name for the record, please. You're muted, Ariana.
Sorry, Ariana Capuano.
Okay, and were you the AGM on the night in question at Loretta's last call?
Yes, I was.
And can you tell the board what you have learned about the incident, what occurred to your best of your knowledge?
Yep. So to the best of my knowledge, what happened that night, there was a commotion going on by the jukebox. My security, Demetrius Johnson, intervened almost instantly. He was posted right by that area, escorted the parties out. He did not contact me to let me know there was any type of physical altercation at that time. But later in the night, he did tell me something had occurred. All parties were gone at that time, so I did not reach out, and that was my mistake. But other than that, that's all the information I have of what happened that night.
And can you tell the board what that security person's responsibility was and should have been on the night in question with regards to you being informed?
Yes, so in a situation like this, we've done the retraining now, so they all know that they are always to contact management before they're asked to leave the premises, so we can address the situation.
And is that did not happen in this case?
Did not.
Okay. And as a result, were you unaware that this person was somehow injured?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. The board may have some questions. I just would like to ask Mr. Kopka, if I may. Thank you, sir. Mr. Kopka, just identify yourself, please.
Yep, Miles Kopka.
And you've already been sworn this morning?
Yes.
And on the night in question, or rather subsequent to the night in question, were you an employee of the Lions Group?
Yes.
And did you interact with the Boston Police detectives regarding this particular incident?
I did.
Okay, can you tell the board what you did?
Yep. So when they came in, he mentioned about the incident that happened. We looked over videotape. I provided video surveillance of the area of the incident. I also went into the computer as well to find any authorization credit cards that were used with anybody within the party to identify the people that were involved.
And did you provide names and information to the Boston Police in that regard?
As much as I could, yes.
Okay. And you gave the video, so you obviously saw the video of the incident?
Yes.
And I will just add that I know we have provided the video to the board. I'm informed that the video of the incident lasts something like 27 or 28 seconds. Is that about the size of it?
Yes.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I can speak to that. I emailed the
Identify
footage.
yourself, please.
Oh, Katina Corafines, risk manager for the Lions Group.
Okay.
I emailed a link to the footage to the board yesterday. I also provided a narrative. The actual incident itself, the altercation itself, took less than 30 seconds.
Thank you, and I know that you did send over that video. Unfortunately, it was in a format that could not be read. It was in an EXE document. So we're currently going back and forth to try to find another format to send that in. So as soon as we receive that, we'll share with the board.
Yeah, I've reached out to our IT department this morning to see if they can either provide software to help assist view the video, and if they can't do that, see if we can save it in a different, more viewable format.
Thank you.
And Ms. Corpons, you've seen the video, obviously. Can you tell the board whether or not there were any visible injuries on this person as he was seen in the video?
The alleged victim, I did not see any visible injuries, and the alleged victim and the person he was with walked out on their own accord. Well, security escorted them at the door and they left.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The board may have some questions for you, any of you.
Thank you all. Chairman Joyce, we'll start with you. Any questions?
Yes. The altercation lasted 30 seconds. How soon did it take for security to respond? And how many security responded?
One security, based on the video, one security person responded, and I believe it was almost immediate.
Okay, and that's the security person that never reported it to Ariana?
That is correct.
Ariana, when he did at the end of the night report to you that there was an altercation, what did he say?
So he told me that there was a commotion by the jukebox, so he had gone over and he didn't see any physical hits, but he did see someone on the floor and he escorted everyone out. He said he didn't see any injuries at that time.
He escorted all the parties out the same door?
So the group that had seemed to cause the issue first left on their own as soon as they saw security come over, and then he escorted the last two out.
Okay, when he went over there, the victim was on the floor?
Yes, that's what he told me after.
Does the security person still work there?
No, he has been terminated for this issue and other issues.
And other issues? So he just said there was a commotion that resulted in like someone being like knocked to the floor and he left the aggressor and just leave.
So they had left as soon as they saw him approaching the area, is how he explained it to me and what the show.
Okay, any idea how this got out of hand so quickly?
I cannot speak to that.
All right, and nothing that he had said to you made you go review the video that night?
I did not know how to use the cameras at that time, so that's where Miles stepped in and helped me with that.
Okay, Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
Can you speak to the coverage either in camera or with your security, with the area that we're talking about? It seems like there's a hallway that leads to the bathrooms. How big is that area? Is it supposed to be covered by your security? Like, what's going on there? I'm not familiar with the layout of your place.
So we do have someone posted in the middle of the room, which is right where that hallway is. Yes.
Is there, I think that
Someone who works for you.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, attorney. Were you saying something?
I just, I think that the cameras are in the hallway, but obviously they wouldn't be in the bathrooms for, you know, privacy.
Okay, so I was reading the narrative, so I'll be able to see the hallway, but what's going off camera is he's going into the bathroom.
I think they were coming out. One of the parties was coming out of the bathroom or going into the bathroom. Is what
It sounds like the narrative makes it sound like there's a hallway area where the bathrooms are. Is that right?
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay, and
there is no camera in that hallway area because
how big is that hallway area?
Not very large.
It's basically just a passageway to get to the bathroom.
Yes.
Okay, and when you post your security, can they see what's going on in that hallway?
So the one in the middle of the room wouldn't be able to see that, but the person posted by the front of the room can see that area. Yes.
Okay, and who was that night? Do you know?
Posted by the front or in the middle of the room?
The one who should have been able to see the hallway with the bathrooms.
I do not recall. I'm sorry.
Okay, maybe I'm gonna make a comment here is we see a lot of, it seems like the bathroom is a friction point. So maybe in the future, it seems like people bump into each other, going to the bathroom, whatever, you know what I mean? I don't really know what's going on with that, but it happens all the time. So maybe, future thought about making sure there's eyes on that area all the time.
A very good idea.
Thank you.
I think you're right. And we think that's what happened here. Something happened coming or going from the bathroom and so yeah, it's a very good idea. We'll certainly take that into consideration. And again, want to apologize to the board for the failure to notify immediately. But again, there was a missing link here in that an employee simply didn't do their job. And then once we were aware, fully cooperated with BPD and provided information, which hopefully leads to, somebody being held responsible for this.
Thank you, Attorney Quilty. Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
Nothing additional, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from the board on this matter? Okay, the board will take this matter under advisement and we will wait for the submission of the video in a format that we can read.
We'll provide. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Calling item number 6, Gainsborough Hospitality, Inc., doing business as Two Saints Tavern at Dos Diablos, located at 52 Gainsborough Street. Date of the incident, September 21st, 2023. Persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34A, 34C, and 6464A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning again, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board. Dennis Quilty representing the licensee. With me this morning is Chuck Hitchcock, manager of record and owner of the establishment. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Detective Hernandez.
Thank you, Detective. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Detective William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, if you could please read the police report into the record.
Good morning. I'll be reading from a report which I wrote on Thursday, September 21st, 2023. Charged Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to the BPD license premises conducted a license premise inspection of Two Saints. While inside the establishment, detectives observed two patrons later identified as Laura Patricio and Juliana La Parra drinking alcoholic beverages. Detectives noted these patrons appeared young and asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. The patrons stated they were 21 years of age. The patrons then produced fraudulent driver's license that contained their correct name but displayed a date of birth, which made it appear as though they were both over 21 years of age. The detective confirmed that the driver's licenses were indeed fraudulent. The fraudulent driver's licenses were confiscated by detectives. Both patrons will be subject to court for persons under 21 possession of alcohol and possession of fraudulent identification. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Charles Hitchcock. Mr. Hitchcock stated that both licenses did scan valid on their license verification scanner. Detectives confirmed that the establishment scanner did incorrectly show the results of those being valid licenses. As a result, what detective observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 040266 for persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise. Mr. Hitchcock signed for accepted notice. So,
thank you, Detective Hernandez. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
If I may, just please ask Detective Hernandez, did the management cooperate with you?
Yes, sir.
And you personally reviewed the licenses being approved in the scanner, is that correct?
Yes, both licenses did scan like they were valid licenses on their scanner.
Interesting. Do you see that happen often?
It happens.
It happens, yeah. And other than, I mean, Mr. Hitchcock and the staff were cooperative with you and no other issues?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
If I may just inquire of Mr. Hitchcock? Thank you. Hitchcock, you've been sworn. Just state your full name for the record, please.
Charles Hitchcock.
All right. And on the night in question, were you present?
I was.
And did you it can be obviously converse with the detectives when they came in, and you show them the scanner equipment and went over the equipment, and they observed that these two licenses went through accepted, correct?
Correct.
And did you, can you tell the board what you have done with regard to the scanning equipment and how you keep things up to date and what you've done to ensure that the system is working properly?
We purchased what we believe to be the best system that is available. It uses the same hardware that they use in an airport. It looks at 3 different wavelengths of light, 35 different aspects of an ID. It's constantly updated. This software version had come out. We had updated it right before September 1st, before the return of the students, to make sure that it was good to go. And, you know, we believe that we're just doing everything that we possibly can to try and handle this issue that is out there.
And were you able to learn anything as to why this would have occurred, why the machine incorrectly read these licenses?
The company later did provide another update saying that they were aware of, you know, some types of IDs were getting through. They provided an update on the software. We downloaded it. They're just constantly having to update and attempt to stay ahead of whoever's making these.
And these are, you assume, licenses that these individuals can buy online? Some of them come from China, from elsewhere?
Oh, correct. Yeah, they're easy to get, unfortunately.
Right. And with regard to now reviewing the equipment on an ongoing basis, what have you done and what are you doing to ensure to the board that this won't happen again?
We kind of take a stance here that we need to trust the system. What I can't do is allow discretion amongst the staff, because then that just goes the other way. We believe that the software is very good, and it is. We keep out hundreds of attempted fake IDs for the most part. That evening specifically, I actually gave the detectives a bank bag filled with fake IDs that we take. We do everything that we possibly can, and I believe that we have a very good presence in and among the student body where they know that we are a place that really doesn't, we don't accept fake IDs. We're not going to play that game, so they know not to even try, but they still do.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hitchcock. The board may have some questions for you.
Thank you, Chairman Joyce. Any questions?
What kind of IDs were they? What state?
I believe one of them was a New Jersey.
Okay.
Then I think the second one might have been a Connecticut. I don't have that information directly in front of me.
Could you possibly find it and forward it to the board if it's possible?
Yes, I will try and grab that.
It's just in the report. One of the reports indicates that both eventually showed their true valid New Jersey driver's licenses.
Yeah, but the ones that scanned true, I want to know which ones they used. You can't rely on that if they're out of state.
They were out of state, ma'am. I can get you that information.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
None for me, thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7 has been continued at the request of the licensee to the next available hearing date. And item number 8 has already been called. That concludes the license premise inspection portion of this morning's hearing. The remaining 2 items are informational hearings. Item number 9, calling now Inshallah Inc., doing business as Crave, located at 128 Brighton Ave in Alston. Notice of this hearing was sent on November 1st, 2023. This is an informational hearing regarding the frequency of licensed premise violations and incidents requiring police involvement inside and outside the licensed premise to determine if any action shall be taken. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Notice was delivered and signed for. Is anybody present on behalf of Crave? We will take a second call and have staff reach out to them immediately. Moving on to item number 10. Licensee is the Russian Benevolent Society, doing business as Crystal Restaurant Garage Room located at 14 to 20 Linden Street in Alston. Date of the notice was also November 1st, 2023. This is an informational hearing regarding the non-use of the license in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, as it has come to the board's attention that this license has not been in use in quite some time. Who's present on behalf of the licensee? Attorney Hawkins, you speaking. But you're on.
Alex, I apologize. Am I on? Alex Matov.
Yes, Leslie Delaney Hawkins with the law firm of Prince Lobel on behalf of the licensee. With us is also Alex Matoff, the manager of record, and I believe Kurt Fletcher is going to be joining as well. He's at the ZBA, so he asked me just proceed.
Thank you. Before we hear from the licensee, Chairman Joyce, are there any introductory comments you would like to make?
Yes, we're back here today. This informational hearing is focused on the reasons why this license has not been used. The city is taking a look at all of the licenses that are not in use, and we are trying to determine what the disposition will be following that. So, Mr. Matov, we've been out to your licensed premise. I've been there at least twice. So if you could update us on the non-use status of your license.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As the board is aware, following the April 2022 incident, the board did vote to suspend the license indefinitely. Given the many challenges that this licensee has had and serious incidents that have occurred with operating a premise, and the fact that at that time, the property was actually completing an entitlement process for a new development, the licensee did renew its liquor license for 2023 with correspondence that I believe Attorney Fletcher submitted stating that it did not intend to request to reopen at that time. Given the fact that there have been continued issues, we are back before you today to request that we be permitted to renew for 2024. This operator or any affiliate will not be at any time operating this license. Instead, what we would respectfully request the opportunity to submit in writing to the board a timeline and a proposal for transferring this license to a new unaffiliated operator. The development that has previously been approved is indefinitely on hold, given the current market for new development. Again, we're not looking to reopen as this operator. Attorney Fletcher has a little more context on how we came to be in discussions with a potential new and unrelated operator that neither Attorney Fletcher or I was aware of. The development team was in discussions with a potential operator to bring into the space after the redevelopment was built out. And when that group learned that the development was on hold, they then had a conversation with the landlord about potentially coming in pending into the existing space pending that redevelopment. Obviously, that has led to some confusion. Attorney Fletcher and I have only recently learned about this. We were not part of those conversations, but we are now involved as licensing counsel. We completely understand that this will be a very thorough and lengthy process if the board does allow this license to for the suspension to eventually be lifted and to consider a transfer to an unrelated operator at this location.
Okay, I'm just going to jump in. I'm taking a look at the licensee's docket, and I know Attorney Delaney Hawkins, you weren't representing them at the time, but maybe your client can speak to, this is why we have the dockets. On May 26, 2022, Mr. Matov, this board voted on indefinite suspension, but with that indefinite suspension, we requested from you written correspondence regarding plans for the future use of the license. We have not received that. Why haven't we received that? And that was May 2022. Why is it now the first time? Is it because you're trying to sell it? Something like that?
In the future, we definitely would like to move into a new state of the license. We have been under the we've been trying to get new permits and everything for
No,
development
but
of
we
this
we
property.
never received anything from you in May 2022. I don't know if you remember, I went out and visited you in person with the district captain, licensed premise unit. We took
Correct.
a
I do
tour,
remember that.
took time out of my schedule to go out in person and walk the licensed premise with you. We asked for written correspondence. We never received it. We allowed you
we
to
did-
renew your license. And now you're asking to renew it again and it hasn't been used.
Correct.
Okay.
After the expansion, it has been used, and there were no particular plans to use it. The process for development has been delayed, and therefore we were trying to find a new way of how to utilize the license. We have a
I
new
get you.
group
I
in
understand.
place.
I understand. I am now trying to organize the board's calendar. Okay. So can you give me a time certain when we're going to have this correspondence from you? And we also have to calendar a cancellation hearing in the next 6 months if you don't cure this.
Absolutely, Madam Chair.
Now, we will cancel the license, as you know, that these licenses are a commodity in the city of Boston, and I am charged with making sure they're being put to good use. We have now given you over a year to figure this out. We haven't heard from you, and now I'm chasing you down again. So we would like to have a date certain. I don't want to spend any more staff time chasing you down, Mr. Natov, and finding out what's going on, answering calls and responding to people who think they're buying your license and have no idea that it's indefinitely suspended. Just kind of a waste of my staff's time, my time, the police's time. So if you could give us a date certain when we can have this information, we can move on. I'll ask the other commissioners if they have any questions.
Absolutely, Madam Chair.
Understood.
Apologize, I'm not making any excuses. We will have correspondence to the board detailing the status, a timeline, and a proposal for a pathway forward by the end of the week.
Okay, because we're not going to take a look at any renewal application from you, Mr. Matov, until we have all this. So,
Understood.
yeah, I hope it's understood because we will take your license back.
We understand it. The license is absolutely a privilege, not a right. We're very aware of that. We'll make sure.
I know you are, Attorney Hawkins. I don't know if your client is. That's why I'm directing this to him.
I do.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon?
Nothing additional from me. Thank you.
No, I underscore everything you said, Commissioner. It is quite unfair. There are a lot of restaurants out there who would put it to good use.
Thank you. Anything further, Chairman Joyce?
No.
Thank you very much. We will await the submission of that correspondence, and we will also calendar a cancellation hearing in 6 months should the non-use not be cured.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The board will take this under advisement. We'll return back to item number 9. I know staff did call and received only voicemail, so it does not appear that anyone is present on behalf of Crave, but I will take a second call. Has anybody joined us from Crave? Chairman Joyce, how would you like to proceed? Sergeant Amos from D14 has joined us today.
We will proceed. Thank you for joining us, Sergeant. We'll proceed with this informational hearing on the number and frequency of violations and incidents requiring police response for this licensed premise.
Thank you, Chairman Joyce. At the outset, do you have any framing remarks before we move on to Sergeant Amos to walk us through what he has to present to us?
I have no framing remarks. I think we're all familiar with this licensed premise, this owner, this operator, and this location. More concerned about what is going on from the police perspective.
Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Sergeant McLaughlin unfortunately had to attend a funeral this morning, so he regrets that he couldn't make it. I'm also not sure if Sergeant Detective Gallagher is still on, as he's played an important role in this, as I'm a little bit new to all of this, and he's obviously the subject matter expert. But in preparation for this, I went into our report writing system and I was just gonna, PDF a few of our reports. However, there were, to be quite frank, too many of them. to really download all of them. So I just I downloaded like the last 3. If I were to read one, I'd essentially be reading most of them because it's the same thing over and over and over again. However, I suppose it should be noted that the reason this location has become essentially like on our quote unquote radar is I think it was last December, someone was shot outside of the nightclub. And I was not there for it, but essentially this shooting kind of, made everyone take a look at this place. And, we continue to go back on usually Saturday nights, and it's the same thing over and over again. The nightclub is the location is essentially being run as a nightclub. Sometimes there's a DJ, sometimes there's someone playing music off a laptop. They're collecting cover at the door. There'll be valet service. Sometimes there's fights out front. Sometimes there's commotion out front. And, you go inside and you ask to see the one-time entertainment license, and, whoever's working there always kind of plays stupid and then ultimately will say, we don't have one. I asked to speak to Susan, and then they'd always tell me that Susan's in Thailand. So the fact that you are not able to, or the fact that no one showed up here tonight, I would tell you, or this morning rather, I apologize. I don't necessarily find that odd. Other than that, I suppose I just open myself up to questions from you folks. And if there's anything else I can add or contribute, I'd be more than happy.
Sergeant, thank you for your time today, and thank you for joining us. I know you sent over 3 licensed premise incident reports that we haven't even held hearings on yet that occurred in September and October. I just wanted to ask you, compared to other licensed premises in your district, how does the police response compare here to other places that are within your purview?
So I'm not going to say that they're the only one, because they're not. But I mean, they're definitely at the top of the list. And then I suppose I do know, I'm just a little bit more intimate with it because I know they're operating without a license or an entertainment license. And it's, it's a Saturday night. I'm in my police cruiser. It's 11, 12, 1 a.m. in the morning. I drive down Brighton Ave and I see, a bunch of cars parked out front of Crave. It's as if they're not even trying to really hide it at this point, because essentially, like, we come in, we give them a piece of paper that has words on it, and to them, that's the end of it.
Are there issues with closing? Are there crowds that you see when you drive by?
We had I'd say about 3 or 4 months ago, we ended up making an arrest out front. I had just done a code 35, and I had cited them for no one-time entertainment license. At the end of it, there was a very, very large crowd in there. I'd say in excess of 200 people. So what I did is I assigned one of the cruisers to just stay out front. Hey, I cited them. There's a large crowd in there. Let's just leave a cruiser out front until they close up for the night, just to let them know we're here so that there are no problems. And there ended up being a huge melee in the middle of the street. I would say probably 10 feet away from my police cruiser with 2 officers inside. We ended up effecting an arrest. If I could have arrested 20 people, I would have, because it was 20 people fighting. Unfortunately, there was 3 of us and maybe 40 of them, so we could only do so much. But that's just another example of some of the stuff that happens out front. I don't work every Friday or Saturday night, as I'm sure you can guess. So I would say there's probably plenty of times that stuff happens that we don't catch, but that would just be an assumption on my behalf.
Thank you. Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon, do you have any specific or general questions for the sergeant? Or for anyone?
Is this happening? You mentioned like 11, 12, like, is it happening more at closing time, or is it happening throughout the evenings, or what days of the week as well? Is it concentrated at any time or day?
If I said day, I'd say Saturday. But you know, time, like, you know, it obviously, we let out at around 2 a.m. in Brighton. And I don't show up to work until about 10:15 every night. And I have, you know, other things I need to do before I hop in a cruiser and, you know, make my rounds, so to speak. So typically for me, it's something around like the 11 to 12 window that I actually make my way down there. I do know, I didn't forward the report, but I know that there's another complaint that Sergeant Gallagher, Sergeant Detective Gallagher, filed, I think about a week ago, when he went to serve in hand your summons. When he showed up there, they were doing the same thing, and he cited them again as he was giving your summons to appear for this. So I didn't include that in this email because I didn't write it, and I figured, you know, something like that should come from him, but I'm not sure if you guys were made aware of that also.
This is just my ignorance, but how long has this restaurant been open? Is there a new manager? Like, is there something new about all these problems, or?
So I don't think so during the day, it was like a chicken restaurant. And to be quite honest with you, and I would argue that they had the best fried chicken sandwich in the city of Boston. And I used to go there if I was doing like a first half, because like I loved their food. And, you know, it was also kind of my way of, you know, being like, hey, like, I'm not out to get you guys. I'm also more than happy to, like, you know, purchase food from you guys because you're so, like, I thought their product was, again, to be quite blatant, like, was excellent. I think they've kind of shuttered the doors on the chicken portion of it, because it was called like Yaz Chicken, spelled Y-A-S. I've only been in Brighton for about 18 months now. But again, this place really only kind of came on my quote unquote radar since last Christmas time. But it has been a habitual offender since last December at a minimum.
I think what we saw, Commissioner Saxon, is they were this chicken restaurant and trying to make ends meet. The owner has brought in different promoters.
Yeah, we have not seen if there's any change of ownership or management since 2018.
Yes, I still believe it's always this woman who's identified herself as Susan Cheng.
That's correct. Are there any further questions from the board for Sergeant Amos or Sergeant Detective Gallagher?
No, not for me.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning.
Absolutely. Happy to help.
Thank you. The board will take this under advisement as well. And those are all of the items before the board this morning. The board will vote this Thursday, and that will adjourn this morning's hearing. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.